with teams and fundraising here. So some of you may have seen my name through emails that come out about fundraising. That's who I am. I'm here to support you all, but I don't know the logistics. We also have Eva back in that corner, and she works with me on teams and fundraising, so you may see her around as well. And then right back there we have Matt, who is our Bike MS intern this year. He's been brave enough to join us, so that's the good news. And then I'll introduce him a little bit later, but over here sitting that you've seen walking around is Keith Bailey. He's from Primal, and he's going to do the main presentation tonight about cycling, if you will. Little note, how many of you, this is your first year riding? Most of you. You looked bashful that it wasn't. But you're here for a recap. I needed to. I was looking at the videos earlier, and I'm like, oh, I need to learn how to do that. So welcome. How many of you decided to do Bike MS because you know someone with MS? A good chunk. And then, so the rest of you don't necessarily. You just know that it's a good ride, hopefully. A little bit about us. The National MS Society is a large organization. It is a national organization. We here are the Colorado-Wyoming chapter. We cover both states. This is our main office in Denver, though we do have a few offices scattered around. We have one in Colorado Springs, one on the western slope, one in northern Colorado, and then also an office in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I think we just opened one in Casper that has a couple people in it as well. So we cover all of that. Our offices are actually located on this side of the lobby, so through the glass that you can see, that's the chapter. And then on this side, we are unique in that we actually share space with the home office, our national arm. They have a location here in Denver as well as in New York. Here in Denver, we have a lot of the folks who work nationally on Bike MS, our Walk MS events, a lot of our marketing is here as well. And then we also have our 1-800 number. So for anyone who has MS, they can always call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. And when they do that, it rings here in Denver. All the folks there are master's level folks. They are very well certified to take any call that comes through that hotline. And so we really recommend that if anyone you know has questions about it, you can call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. So that's a little bit about who we are other than Bike MS. If you have questions more about the society, feel free to ask later. What I'm going to do, I'm going to talk a little bit about Bike MS itself, what you can expect out there. I'm going to do a brief thing about fundraising, and then I'm going to turn it over to Keith to go into the cycling, some of those tips and tricks that are really great to know. Is that fair? Feel free to get up and get refreshments and use the restroom at any time if you want. So we will go ahead and get started. All right, so the start line. Start line on, I'm just going to explain a little bit about what you can expect of these. And let me grab my notes here. Let's see here. The start line, we do have an expo on Friday. For those of you who haven't picked up your packet yet, if you didn't qualify to pick it up at the early packet pickup, which is next week. Next week? Yes. If you didn't qualify for that and meet your minimum time, it will be available Friday night before Bike MS. It's also available Saturday morning. But that's what you can expect at the start line. And sorry this is small. We were hoping to have it on multiple TVs and it didn't work. You've got packet pickup at that start line. You might be nervous to wait that long to get your packet, but I promise you it's not hard. The lines aren't long. We've done this a few times, and so we can get you through there, get you your packet, your bib, all that stuff. What you'll do is you'll pick up your packet if you haven't already. Make sure you have your bib, your wristband. You'll also then get a luggage tag. You want to put that luggage tag on your luggage and then get it to one of the luggage trucks. There will be a few placed around the parking lot there that you can take your luggage to. And then you also get a tag for your bike. You want to make sure you put that on your bike so that way when you get to CSU, you can put your bike in the bike corral and know exactly where it is the next day. So we've got luggage trucks. We will have mechanics there. Breakfast is provided. By the way, Alexis, jump in if I say anything that's not right or you want to clarify for me. We do have I Ride For bibs. That means if you are riding for someone who has MS, you can pick that up at the start line, wear it on the front, back, whatever side doesn't have your number on it. And it can say who you're riding for. You can decorate it if you want, but you'll see a lot of those along the ride. And we will also have medical there in case there's something that for some reason needs to be attended to before the ride even starts. Hopefully not. Hopefully you're in good shape. We will have a 6 a.m. start, and this is kind of what it looks like. We're at Front Range Community College. You'll be coming through, people will line up, start to line up probably about 5:45 or so. The 6 a.m. start is a little early if that's what you're laughing at, for some of us who are morning people. But what we do is there are a few key key teams that have specific start times are presenting and title sponsors. Some of our bigger teams are top fundraising teams from past years. So they have specific start lines at like 6, 6:02, 6:05. But basically you line up behind them and then they let you go in approximately 100-person intervals. We do have someone who risks their lives and jump in front of you to stop you. That is not me, thank goodness, but please obey them. And they'll let you out. We do require that everyone must be on the course by 8 a.m. And is 7 a.m., is there a certain time for the century at this point?
The century, you must be on the century option by that course by 1 p.m. You don't have to leave front range at a specific time, but you must be on that turnoff by 1 p.m. Otherwise, else we're going to close it and not let you on, just so you've got enough time to finish through the course and things like that.
Yes. I'll talk a little bit more about your route in a second. But that's what to expect at the start line. There are a lot of people. Your family is more than welcome to come drop you off, or there's plenty of parking. It's really just up to you and what you want to do and what you want for them the following day when you return. But it's always nice to have family there cheering you on. On the route, what to expect. We have SAG vehicles. That stands for Support Being Here. I didn't know that when I started. SAG vehicles are there in case something happens. You will see them driving along the course. They will be marked. You'll see that as well. Typically, if something does happen, if you get a flat or anything like that, most likely, before one of them shows up, you'll have someone who's riding that stops to ask. It's a very friendly ride. It's a very community-driven ride. And so most of the time, if you've stopped, you'll get every single person that passes you will ask if you're okay or if you need help. That's what I've noticed anyways. But we do have SAG vehicles. They can take you if for some reason you can't make it up one of the long hills, maybe it's Horseshoe Reservoir, they are there to assist with that as well. If you need to get to the next rest stop or get to the finish line, they can do that. We have State Patrol out there at some of the busy intersections to help manage the traffic and manage you as a cyclist. We have route marshals. Those are our volunteers. You'll see them. Are the t-shirts orange again? Yes, in orange t-shirts. Out along the route. We have quite a few of them. They are at the busy intersections. They are the ones telling you left turn ahead to give you preparation to get into that left lane. They're doing a lot of things. They're great. You'll see a lot of them cheerleading. So just know that they're along the route to make sure you're going the right direction. We also have riding medics. So people who are out there, they'll have a jersey. They all wear the same jersey and it says medic on it. So you'll know that they're there in case you do have an injury. You fall, scrape a leg, you just need something to clean it up, they can help with that. We also have riding marshals, who are people who know this route very well and can help direct you if you're lost. Hopefully you're not. It is very, very well marked with arrows, so it's not hard. I won't say it's not hard to do. It's probably harder to get lost than it is to do. We've got rest stops along the way. They're about 10 to 15 miles each, kind of give or take where they're at. But those rest stops do have food. They have water and Gatorade. They have porta potties. The lunch rest stop is a huge lunch rest stop. You'll see people kind of kick back and take it easy there for a second, which is kind of nice. And then you'll also know if you're new to this ride, our porta potties, we have what's called the high roller porta potties or the VIP porta potties. And that is for people who the previous year raised $2,000 or more. They get the VIP porta potties, which essentially are hopefully a shorter line and a little bit nicer and cleaner. So that's something to strive for next year, just letting you know. And you'll see that. You'll also see some photographers along the route. I think Don here, who's video taping for us tonight, will be along the route. And then we also have some professionals there who are taking individual shots of you. And you'll be able to see those individual shots when you get into Fort Collins. And then again when you get to the finish line on day 2. So they will be prepping you with a sign that says smile, photographer ahead. You can prepare for it, look really good, make sure you don't look too winded. So you'll also see some I Ride with MS jerseys out there. Those are for the people who do ride with MS. We have a little over 100 people who choose to identify that with us. They select this, and so we provide them with the jersey that says I Ride with MS, which is pretty powerful when you're riding behind them to see that. It's great to stop and talk to them and get their story, so I highly suggest that. And we also provide some things to them as well to keep them cool throughout the day. We have some little things at rest areas. If you see some specific shaded areas, that may be for them. So just be respectful of that, but I think that's a great way for us to acknowledge why we're out there. And then the last thing on this, we have 3 route options on that day 1. So if you're doing the 2-day, the full Bike MS, there are 3 route options on that first day. We have the base route, which is 63 miles. 66 miles. You've got the challenge route, which is 73 miles, and then the century, which is, yeah, a little more than a century, 102. So we've got those 3 routes. You probably selected a certain one when you registered online. You don't have to do that if you're feeling better or worse than you did the day that you registered. You can switch when you're out on the route. We also have the Fort Collins Loop. Are there any people here participating in the Fort Collins Loop? A couple. All right, good. So that is our one-day ride, and that is a loop that goes around Fort Collins for those of you who are. Your packets and everything you pick up are in Fort Collins. You start and finish there. And this is for anyone else in the room. If you know someone who maybe doesn't want to do 2 days and 150 miles but would like to bike, this is an option for them. And what it does, it starts and ends at CSU. There's a 40-mile option and a 25-mile option. And the start time is a little later in the day. It's at 9:30, 9 o'clock. So that's another option if you have family members or friends who have been on those fence. It's a good one to throw out to them. All right. Next, day 1 finish at CSU. It's just a blast. It's a party. That's really what it is, as you can see here. We have, right when you cross the finish line, one of the first things you'll see is a hydration station. We know that you need to refuel, get some of that Gatorade and water in you, and it will most likely be warm. So we have that for you. We'll have medical. We have what we call the MS cooling zone. That is for the folks who are riding with MS. It is an area that is cool with misters and shade. However, even if you don't have MS, if you are overheated, please feel free to use it. We will not turn you away. We don't want you to pass out. We do have a bike corral sponsored by Bicycle Village. So for those of you who haven't been, you can leave your bike there overnight. It is secure overnight. There will be lights on it. They will even cover your seat with a bag for you if you don't have a seat cover. That way, if there's any dew, it won't be wet in the morning. But it's great. It's really well organized. So it goes by that bike number that I said to put on your bike frame. You'll go and place it in the correct rack that we have, and then the next day it'll be there for you to pick up. Like I said, it will be secure, so you can leave it overnight, though you can also feel free to take it to your hotel if you're not comfortable leaving it. We will have a sponsor row where all of our sponsors are set up, so I definitely encourage you to check that out. They always have a lot of good giveaways. Luggage and shuttles. There are shuttles to all the hotels that we are partnered with, which is listed on our website. If you have questions about that, let us know. But the shuttles do run. And luggage and shuttles are normally next to each other to make it convenient for you. The luggage, similar to the bikes, is set up by number. So you'll go and find your range of number, and it should be fairly easy for you to find your actual luggage. We do have dinner there for you. And if some of you are really fast riders and get in early, dinner may not yet be open, but we will have food available for purchase to tie people for. So we do have that available. So Team Village is kind of the main area there. This is where a lot of our teams have really big grandiose team tents. Maybe they have some catered food. Maybe you can sneak into one and get some of that really good food or a massage, you never know. But Team Village is actually this year, for the first year, we're combining it with the beer garden. They used to be separate. This year we're kind of putting them together. Friends and family and children can still come in. They can still visit you and hang out. The beer garden, there will be an area that even if you don't have a team tent, there will be an area that you can hang out with your friends and family that come to see you at the end of that first day. There will be team photos available. If you have a team, you can go get those taken. As I mentioned earlier, you'll be able to reference those route photos that the photographer is taking of you en route. This year we're also having the Facebook photo booth, which is a great thing. We've got fake mustaches and funny glasses and picture frames and things like that for you to have a good time. So I highly encourage you to do that, maybe after you've had a beer or two. And then we have an evening program with a jersey contest and a tent decoration contest. And there's a lot of other things that go on at that evening program, but those are kind of two of the highlights of some of the fun things to do. Our jersey contest this year is actually sponsored by Primal, and they are donating some things to the winners. So we're excited about that. Let's see here. Day 2, and I should say this. We do have a beer garden. We limit it to 3 beers per person because you have to get up and ride the next day. Right? You have to ride 75 miles the next day. So I really stress that maybe you shouldn't overdo it. I'll just throw that one out there from personal experience. But day 2, you'll get up early. Again, the shuttles, if you're staying in a hotel, will be running. They start running at 4:30 in the morning and go until 7 o'clock. Once you get back to campus, if you're staying in a shuttle, you can drop off your luggage. You can grab breakfast. Breakfast is open from 5 to 7:30. most people like to just get on the road. So there is a 6 a.m. start. We don't start before them. But a lot of people, once that kind of happens, the first day, everyone's there. The second day, because people are a little bit tired, their legs are a little bit tired, you know, you might see people starting more around 6:30. It just happens. We'll do the same thing where people are released in about 100-person intervals for those starts. And again, everyone must be on the course by 8 a.m. You'll get the same really good support that we have on day 1, the rest stops, and we've got 2 route options on day 2. We've got that base route and the challenge route. We do not have a century on day 2. So in case any of you really wanted that challenge, I apologize. And then the finish line at Front Range Community College. So this is, you're coming around and you'll have to slow down a little bit. You can't fly through the finish line because you're kind of going around a turn. Maybe we do that on purpose. But there will be folks, this person's actually holding one, handing out medals. You see folks along the sign, they'll be handing out your finisher medal. And the people who are doing that, most of them are people living with MS. So these are people, really, they're coming out there to say thanks, you know, for what you're doing for riding and raising funds, which is great. We again have that MS cooling zone. We again have medical. Medical is going to be everywhere for you, really. Your friends and family can come see you at the finish line, cheer you in. You'll see a lot of that. It's a really fun time. So you may call them or text them when you're at that last rest stop to let them know where about you're at. It's great to see them. Showers are available inside Front Range Community College if you have a long drive home and don't want to sit in your jersey and bike shorts that time. You can shower beforehand. We will have food, and the question here is, have you gained weight yet? Because we joke that this is one of the few rides that you can gain weight on, even though you're burning so many calories. So we will have food at the finish line. You will have already been fed lunch and breakfast, but here's some more for you. Typically, we've got some snow cones because it's hot. Once again, you'll pick up your luggage. We will have bike racks available for you to set your bikes and do your thing before you take off.
I'm going to tell you everything that I have learned over the course of, I'm 41 years old, about biking. But first I want to put a plug-in for Primal and as far as why I'm here, what my relationship is with Bike MS. As a company, we are a cycling apparel company. Spandex, everything. Who doesn't love spandex? And we are a national sponsor of Bike MS. And through our program and our partnership, our relationship, we just continue to grow it. And one of the things that's come out of this actually will come to benefit you as you move on into teams. Who currently is riding with a team? Fantastic. When you get to the village and you're not on a team, go stop by, be like, hey, I'm kind of shopping out looking for some teams, and they will want to talk to you. Right? And they'll give you food, they'll give you massages, it's a fantastic thing to do. But one of the things that we do with the teams is we do custom cycling apparel. So what we do is we partner with your team, and for coming on and doing business with us, we turn around and donate 15% of the custom sale directly back to your team in a direct donation to help you with fundraising. When we go through and look at all the teams nationally, there's 3,800 and growing, right? And being a salesperson, I like numbers. When I go through and do the math on 15% on a minimum sale for 3,800 teams, I'm looking at an additional $500,000 worth of fundraising potential just by working with the team, just by coming on board and allowing us to go through Do Your Apparel and us donating 15% back to you. So far this year, this has been the first year we've done the really big push on it. We've generated over $60,000 so far, which makes me really, really excited to go through and be able to give back, because not only am I a company who cares about this, but I'm a cyclist myself as well. So a little bit about me and how I got to being where I am. I used the mouse, right? Okay. A little bit how I got to being where I am today. Ladies on the corner right there, if you wouldn't mind moving up here, be able to see the screen. If you guys want to tuck in a bit, I have a lot of stuff that's all going to involve the TV. Do you mind if I dim this a little bit? Is that cool? Not to put you guys to sleep. Yeah. So cute, right? I'm originally from Holland, which is like the mecca of biking. And I was literally raised on the handlebars of a bike. Now, this bike was actually purchased by my grandfather in 1945 for the 12-and-a-half-year wedding anniversary present, because back then that was about you got a halfway mark for as many wedding anniversaries you could get. My grandparents didn't make it that far. When my grandfather passed, my grandmother said, here, I want you guys to have this bike, and they gave it to my mom and dad, who then rode it. And I remember my first memories is riding on the front of this bike, and it was absolutely amazing. And I graduated from the front to the back. And I graduated from the back to a bike of my own. and I've been pushing pedals ever since. I can't get enough. Moved to the United States in 1980 at the impressionable age of 8, and we went from Holland to Kansas. I appreciate that. I think it's sympathy. I appreciate. I have a lot of scars, a lot of deep scars, but I still rode my bike there as well. I defected to Colorado back in 1999, and I haven't looked back. I can only handle about a week's worth of going to Kansas, and I moved here because of all the amazing biking and exercising and outdoor activities there is. I quit my job one time. I moved to Vail. I was a snowboard bum. I was a river raft guide. Still continuing to push pedals. Moved back to Denver again. Tried to find a new career. And I actually found myself in personal training, which I absolutely love personal training. The opportunity to go out and touch and change someone's life is very much what you guys are doing as well by coming out here and riding this event and doing fundraising. You are changing lives. So when I had my training business, a client came along by the name of Stacy Clay, who rides with the Raw Heinies, who you guys will see. They're one of the top fundraisers out here, and he asked me to become their coach. And I said, okay, I'd like to go through and coach you guys. So for the last 5 years, I've been coaching the Raw Heinies. Do you have any Heinies in the room at all, by chance? Fail. So by going through and working with them, I actually went through and started to develop this program that I'm here to go through and talk to you guys about today. So really what I'm here to do is I'm here to take you guys on a bike ride, right? This whole thing is from beginning to end. We're going on a bike ride, some do's, some don'ts, some videos. You don't have to listen to me talk the entire time, although I do talk during the video. And one of the first things I want to go through, and there's a lot of information, I'm going to do a brain dump on you guys. There's a ton of information on here. This video will be available online. There's a series of them. Some of the stuff I'm talking about won't be available online. So I'm going to give you guys one thing, okay? If you take one thing away from this presentation, which is not on here, who here has gone out and gotten a bike fit? How would we ask you?
It was amazing. It was worth every single penny.
Night and day.
Night and day.
Okay. If you haven't done it, make the investment. If you've got a clunker of a bike and you're like, this I'm going to last like a year or two on this thing before I get rid of it, get a bike fit done first. It's actually, people do it backwards. First you get the bike fit, and then you go out and buy the bike, because what the bike fit person will do for you is they show you where to sit, where to put your hands, the geometry, everything the way it's supposed to be, and then they give you a grocery list. Go find this. And then you go out and you test ride things until you get wine drunk, right? Drink a couple of glasses of wine, they all taste the same. Same thing with bikes as well. Go out and test ride until you find something you like, and if your bike fit is good, you take the bike back to them along with this and say, now fit me to it. And they go through and they do all the geometry and all the work to put you in the saddle sitting comfortably. One of the biggest things that I see is people are too far forward, they're not sitting back far enough, they're not sitting on, they have too much weight on their handlebars, the knees are striking past the ball of the foot, a whole myriad of things. People look overall generally uncomfortable. Doing 75 miles cardiovascular, I believe everybody in this room can do it. Can your butt handle 75 miles of sitting? Right? Can your butt actually go through and do that? I don't know. If you get a good bike fit done, it's the most glorious thing ever. Okay? There's a few other things that you guys need to have as well to be successful. So a few things to go through and be successful. Getting started, we're going to go through first, talk about rest, breakfast, fueling, and gear. Okay? Some things you've got to have before we even roll into this. As far as rest, 8 hours of sleep is what your body roughly needs to regenerate and recover and recuperate. I'm going to say this again towards the end of it. While you're riding your bike, you're not getting stronger. You're actually breaking yourself down, making yourself weaker. It's when you sleep that the magic sewing fairies come out and they sew your muscles back a little bit stronger, a little bit tighter, a little bit better than the time before, and your heart has a chance to rest and your body becomes more efficient. If you get bad nights of sleep, you're not going to be a great cyclist or a great athlete. And actually, there's a gentleman by the name of Alan Lim, who I'll talk about here in a minute, and he actually works with a lot of pro athletes. He does diet work for them. And he says anybody with a sleeping disorder of any kind can never become a professional athlete, because your body needs to have those 10, 12 hours worth of sleep. Okay? So if you're not sleeping well, which I've gone through a phase, I went out and bought myself a sleep number bed. I'm not here a sleep number salesman, but I love my sleep number bed. So getting lots of sleep, and Kaylin let that. Are they cute? They're not mine. After that, we get into breakfast. Now, breakfast is one of the key components, one of the biggest meals you want to have, one of the most important meals you want to have after dinner the night before. Now, this is a cookbook. I have it here if you want to go through and take a look at it. It's written by the gentleman by the name of Alan Lim and Bijou, whose last name I can't pronounce. And the snacks that they have in here are made for cyclists. It's called the Feed Zone. I love this book. And what's great about this book, there's a lot of this book online. And one of the best breakfasts you can ever have is actually their oatmeal breakfast. I'm not sure if the picture came out really, really well, but I'll go through and tell you about how the breakfast is made. What they do is they get the water heated up, only use a little bit of water, they put a banana in there, and they heat it up and they mush it up. Then they put the oats in there, and then they go through, put a little molasses in there as well, get that heated up, put the oats in, then they put either a little bit of almond milk or soy milk in there to bring it the consistency you want to have, and then they let it cook. At the side, what they're making at the same time is a poached egg, right? And on the side of that, what they've chopped up some nuts and some dried cranberries, and then what they do is once the oatmeal is done, they put a little bit of salt in there as well for flavoring, but you put the poached egg on top of the oatmeal. And you guys, this new learning amazes me. But this is the reason why. It makes total sense after you explain it, because the first time I saw it, I actually saw Levi Leipheimer do it, I'm like, what's that guy? And what that guy's doing is, oatmeal is a carbohydrate. And your body can only take in so many carbohydrates until it gets a feeling of fullness, satiation. By adding protein in the form of an egg to it, you can actually eat more. And then to go through and put some dried cranberries and some nuts is good for flavoring and texture and all that as well. It actually makes it taste really good. If you don't believe me, look it up online. It's called Feed Zone Oatmeal, and there's a video to go through and watch. We all love videos. It's about 2.5 minutes long, and Chef Fisher actually goes through and shows you how to make this. Now let's talk about our timing, because we're going for a bike ride, right? You want to eat roughly an hour to 2 hours before you get in the saddle. And the reason being, if you haven't gone through this, you will. It's called abdominal distress. Anybody gone through abdominal distress? It's the ride of if you push yourself hard enough, it's going to come back. It's because what's happening is the blood's going away from the stomach to feed, to the legs and the heart, and the stomach is suddenly getting contracted and getting squeezed, and it's like taking, like an icing piping. It's just squeezing, and it's awful. So an hour to 2 hours, and don't eat a ton of food either. Have a normal sized portion. And I'm talking about this now so you guys can go practice so the day of the ride you can have a wonderful, amazing experience. So we're going to go through, and after that, we want to talk a little bit about technology. Oh, here we go. Hope it doesn't skip like 20 or push it a bunch of times. You don't want to eat like this on your bike, guys. Okay? So fueling, this is what this is actually about. Fueling while you're riding. You've gone out, you had a great meal. You just had a phenomenal breakfast, right? And your liver is full of glycogen. At maximum power output, highly trained athletes have 90 minutes worth of fuel. After that, they're out. Now, your bike ride is not going to be at maximum power output, but it's going to last a way hell of a lot longer than 90 minutes, right? So what you want to do is when you start riding your bike, you immediately want to start refueling and replenishing your system. And one of the ways you want to go through that is you want to drink water. Or you want to drink water with an electrolyte substance, like this one. It's called Noon, and it's electrolyte replenishment. And you sip, don't chug. That's for after the ride. Okay? You want to sip this, and you're constantly taking little drinks from your water bottle and just constantly putting a little bit of electrolytes and sugar back into your system. Okay? All right, for you. My gift. Pleasure. I got more snacks up here. Another thing you want to have as well as you're going through your ride, Recoverite. I can't give this one away, sorry. Recoverite is very much like the Noon, but this comes in a powder form. You put a scoop of this, 2 of this in a water bottle. What I do is I'll take a water bottle and I'll put like 5 scoops of this in, and I'll go back and forth between my 2 water bottles. I'll take a little sip because this is concentrate, and then I have a little bit of larger drink of water. Your body can process roughly 1 full water bottle in an hour's time. Okay? So if you're drinking less than that, you're behind the 8 ball. If you're drinking more than that, you may get some abdominal distress out of it. But to go through, you want to put sugar back into your system, because I think it's important for me to go through and talk about glycogen. Because I mentioned that, glycogen in the liver. Glycogen is just sugar. It's what your body's taken from the food it's taken in, and it's turned it into sugar. Now, your liver's putting this out, and I just said if your liver runs out of sugar, you're done. So what you want to do is you want to keep replenishing your blood sugar so your liver doesn't have to use as much. You're just using it more measured like. So to put sugar back into your system. Sugar when you're riding your bike is actually a really interesting thing. If you have a Coca-Cola and you chug it while sitting here, you're going to get all, and your system's going to go through and crash. But if you're putting sugar into your system while you're actually out riding your bike and maintaining a sustained elevated heart rate, your body's going to go through and burn that off. It's a good thing to have. It's okay to have sugar while riding your bike. Many forms of sugar comes in. Some of my favorite. I love Stingers, vitamin C. They're chewable. They taste delicious. I like to go through and put them in my mouth, kind of hold on to them for a little bit, and then slowly eat them. My wife likes to do 2 chews and swallow them. They say these are actually a little bit better even than gels. I'll talk about gels in a second. It's because your body will slowly go through and break blocks down to the same thing as well. We'll go over there for some snacks in the back of the room. My aim is on. Nice. Another one as well is goo. Goo makes chomps. Chomps are the same thing as the other 2 items I just went through and handed out. We're going to go right over the top. Nice. Couples ace. And then we've also got gels. And these are the kind of things, so the blocks and the goos and the gels, you have these, let's say you have a climb coming up, or let's say you have you feel a little woozy, or you feel like having one. This is where you want to go through that. They take roughly about, right there, have you gotten one yet? No. You got it, there you go. In the back of the room, sir. So these are actually, I think I just threw them away. Not threw, I gave them away. The hammer. Hammer is actually one of my favorite products up here as well. Now the way I do these, who here has taken these before? Who hates these? And then raise your hand. Leave your hand if you hate you. Why do you not like them? The consistency is awful. Have you ever gotten a sugar burn in the back of your throat? Terrible. So the way to take these is to take about 1/4 of a package, take your water bottle, swish it around your mouth, and swallow it that way. Otherwise, I've gone through like I'm at full throttle. I gotta have some energy. Got a big climb, and all of a sudden, the whole rest of the time, it's like, oh my God! It's like you drank hot coffee to burn the back of your throat. So the way you want to go through and take these is a little bit with a little bit of water. Good news is you're getting yourself hydrated as well. For you, sir? Who hasn't got one yet? Goo, gel, back of the room over there, and for you, sir. Nice. So we've taken some sugars into our system, and we're keeping things topped off. Now, after about 2 hours worth of riding, it's time to eat. Okay? Your body can process roughly 250 calories per hour of biking. Now, we all know that our bodies are burning way more fuel than that, but your body can't process more. If you eat more than 250 calories, abdominal distress. Okay? So it's little meals. For that, I like Cliff Bars are great. Note of warning about Cliff Bars is, or any kind of these kind of dried, I can't say Cliff Bars, any kind of dried, concentrated food. If you eat just this and you don't drink water, you have a likelihood of becoming constipated. Okay? So, and also if you're riding your bike as well and you're just eating this, it's going to get dry and oh God, a little bit of water goes a long way. Okay? So it's just another reason to drink more water. For you ladies. Nice. Some of my favorites, this is a copy that came out of Holland. If you want to get the real thing, the Mercantile downtown sells these, and they're called stroopwafels. And stroopwafels come from the wonderful place of Holland. My people, genius. They made the perfect snack food. And what it is basically it's a wafer. This one has chocolate in the middle. The other ones have syrup in the middle. It's great because even like sometimes I keep them, they get really dry and hard. You stick them in your back pocket, you sweat a little bit, so they're nice and soft again. But this is something that you can go through and eat, and you can take it. And the wrappers are easy to open, and it's a light snack. And this one here, I think it's only like 160 calories. Who doesn't like that? It's below 200.
How do you spell that?
Stroopwafel? Or this is actually it's actually STROOPWA waffle. But Honey Stinger makes this product as well. It's absolutely fantastic. Don't hate the player, just hate the game. Right there for you, sir. And then after that, my absolute favorite, the cookie. This thing is awesome. When I go to aid stations, I stock up on cookies because I'm a cookie monster. I love eating cookies. And the best place to eat is doing the best thing I love to do, which is out riding my bike. So I get to ride my bike and eat cookies and not gain weight. It's awesome. All right, so I do love cookies, and that was mine, and I'm not giving it away. It's true. You got to ride pretty slow. So we talked about large meals. Now the next thing we're going to go through, we'll talk about the gear. What kind of gear do you need? Now I can talk about this for the next, well, I've been doing this job for 4 years, that I talk about gear all the time, but I'm just going to go through and tell you guys my favorite. I think that's probably the easiest thing to go through and do. The socks, you have, guaranteed, 3 watts. The next thing is, I really like a full zip length jersey. And the reason I like a full length zip jersey, because it's easy on, easy off. And also if I go through and I load up my back pockets like I usually do, I don't have to go through and try to empty out my back pockets and then sit and pull this, because I've been sweating, and then start doing the dance and try to get the whole thing off. I like a nice full zip jersey, because it's easy to get it on and off, and we talked about those awesome porta potties, which I recommend raising $2,000 for just to have access to, because it gives you access to your bibs and or shorts, right? Now, here's the question, bibs or shorts? Most of you ladies are going to go, I'm going to wear shorts because of convenience. That's why you have the full-length zipper, right? You don't want to take this into the porta potty anyway, because if you're in the porta potty doing this whole dance, then God only knows what's coming out of that pocket. So we're going to be able to take this off outside the porta potty. You ladies always wear a sports bra underneath it as well. I'm correcting this for the ladies. But I recommend you go out and invest in a good pair of bibs at some point sooner than later, okay? The reason why bibs. If you go through and wear shorts, you'll see there's always a band that goes across the waist, right? Now, cycling is an abdominal breathing exercise, right? So your stomach is constantly doing this, and the harder you ride, the faster that it goes. Now, imagine you take a small band, you put it across your waist, and you start doing more exercise. You're basically working your abs harder than you need to, and you're going to fatigue a lot faster as well. So for that reason, what the bibs do is they distribute the weight all over the entire body, and it's not sitting just across the waist. And when you go through and ride these the first time, you feel yourself belly breathing, you can actually see and feel your body moving without having that band through the waist. Okay? 150 miles is a long way. The amount of abdominal contractions that you're doing, I recommend go out and do a Pilates class, extra on the side, and get yourself a nice pair of bibs. It's going to be way more comfortable. Okay? So I like to go through and do a set of bibs on this. I also always wear a cycling cap. The reason I wear a cycling cap and the reason why I pull down this way is because what this allows you is you can actually pull the visor down and still be able to see the road. So it also just blocks the right amount of sun. Sometimes if the sun's on the side, I go through and turn this. If not, it sits nice in the up position. And also the material this is made out is the same as this, which is a high wicking property. So it just keeps my head nice and cool. I also have this awful phobia and this terrible allergy towards skin cancer. So I always go through and I wear this, and I love the spray sunblock. It's one of my favorites. The John Wayne Cancer Foundation makes it's like a primer-based paint. Literally, like you put it on and I become even whiter. Like I start looking like Casper the Ghost. This stuff is so awesome. I love it. The other thing I always wear as well is these are arm warmers, but I wear arm coolers. If you go to all this stuff, the food and the arm coolers and all this gear, you can actually find in Bicycle Village. And the arm coolers, I love them because they actually do keep your arms cooler, and because of the sweat and the sun and everything else that is on your arms, for the miles that I put on outside, we are a mile closer to the sun, and I went one time to the dermatologist and she's like, oh, I was like, okay, that's it. So I always wear, and even in the summertime, I wear arm warmers, and then I'll soak them in water and get them really wet and put them back on again. They feel awesome. Now we ride in Colorado. Colorado is the land of change, and the weather can change at any time. So another piece that I always pack with me is a wind vest. So I always have arm warmers or arm coolers with me, and I wear a wind vest. Now why would I wear a wind vest? Biking is about the ability to regulate temperature. If I have a wind jacket, I'm constricted to the wind jacket. If I have a wind vest and I have my arm warmers or arm coolers if they were, I can go through and regulate temperature by either going through and zipping this down a little bit or dropping my arm warmers down just to the front. You don't always have to take them off. Oftentimes I'll just ride with them down around my wrist. But I have the ability to go through and regulate temperature. If I go through and I do a climb somewhere and have a descend, oftentimes in Colorado it can get really cool. To have a wind vest, something to block the wind against your chest, is really, really nice to have. The other thing I love about this also is it zips up this way, and if you're riding, you can go past your friends and it looks like you're wearing a cape. It does this whole thing. You just look even cooler. But I have a wind vest in my back pocket at all times. I don't care if I roll outside and it says it's going to be gorgeous the entire time. I still always pack a wind vest. It's really nice. It's compact. It balls up into a tiny ball. If you run out of pocket space, I hunch back in Notre Dame and I'll stick it up here. I don't care. I want to have this kind of gear with me. So this is important. Another important piece as well that I always recommend wearing is gloves. Okay? don't be a professional and go for those really cool rides and not wear your gloves. And the reason being is there's two kinds of riders. I hate to break it to you. Two kinds of riders. Those that have crashed, those that are going to. So if you haven't done it, you're going to. It's gonna happen. I'm sorry. It can happen when you just clipping in. But to go through and wear these, and I see it all the time. But to go through and wear these, you're gonna go through and protect your hands. Okay, so for when you do go down, you have that little bit of cushion there to protect yourselves. And we happen to make really cool bike MS gloves. Sweet, right? And then the last thing that's in my back pocket that I carry with me, some people like to attach them to their bike. I can always carry mine in my back pocket because I ride many different kinds of bikes. I have 7 of them. I know, my wife says if you want another one, you have to sell 3. She's trying to downsize me. So inside my patch kit, what is in here? Well, I'll tell you one of the first things that I stick in here is I have a pair of gloves. Now you can go out and you can get the little hygienic gloves and everything else. I carry these because you go through and if you've touched anything on your bike before, chances have it it's filthy and your hands turn black, and then you go through and you put it on your handlebars, and then suddenly you go, oh, it's hot out here, and then you got this big long streak. And so I always carry a pair of gloves. I'm also a fan of CO2 cartridges as well. I get the larger size, 16 grams, because it's always nice to have a little bit of extra in there as well in case you need more air. I carry 1 tube with me, which means when I get a flat tire, that tube is out the door, this one goes in, and I use one of my cartridges to go through and fill this one up. If I end up having a second flat, then I have a patch kit, which is not in here. I asked somebody along the road for a patch kit to see if they're more prepared than I am, but I always carry a tube with me. A great tool to have is a multi-tool. This thing has actually been one of my favorites. I've had it forever. It does everything except I can't cut a chain with it. And if you got to cut a chain, you got to be done with your ride anyway. But to go through and tighten things and screwdriver, there's a great thing here to open up beers. So this is a multi-tool is great. Part of the CO2 component is this little guy. And what this little guy does, I'm not tying on there too tight, but basically one part goes onto the valve stem, and this part goes onto the valve stem. You put this part on first, then you screw this part in. Because on a lot of them, they've got a little pin, and you screw this thing in, all of a sudden you're standing and holding it, going, and you try to get it on your tire, and it's too late, it's gone already. So put this on, first then the, and again the, okay? And then a tire lever, I'll put that there. A tire lever as well, I only need 1. And then, one of the most important thing, beer money. Beer money, or actually for me, if I have a 3-hour ride, I have at least another hour to go, I treat myself to ho-hos. I love ho-hos. I can only eat 2, and I share the other one with a friend. And if you go through and look at the calorie count, it is a little bit over 250 calories, but I don't care. It's so good. When it hits the lips, it's so delicious. So that's what I carry. This is my gear. I have a good helmet. I've got great shoes. We'll talk about shoes a little bit more in a minute. You guys all good so far? A lot of information, isn't it? You read? There's a quiz at the end. All right, so we've gone through. Oh yeah, that's right. But when you get going, and if you're riding, you're leaving the start line, and you're kicking that pedal, and you're kicking that pedal. Oh, this thing sucks! I can't clip in. It's because you have to be patient. It's a little small toe tap, and it's kind of like a tap, and then it just over time, to me, it's like, oh, it's just fluid, just goes right in there. Although even I still struggle. I have bad days as well. I had actually the other day I'm commuting to work, and I'm on the intersection of Franklin and Colfax, and I'm sitting there, and the light turns green, and I get going, and I'm fumbling around with my clip, and it's not happening, and all of a sudden, right here is this woman in this minivan. She's all, oh my God! And also I'm in this position as well, and I clip it over there. Finally, I get it, and then when she goes, and then she stays back there. Right, the road is open. She just stays there. You guys have been in this situation. She just stays there the entire time, and then finally she goes all the way over the lane, and then passes me. And it's all because I was going through, trying to take the time to go through and get clipped in. Right, so be patient. And another reason not to wear headphones. Maybe I should have been wearing headphones at that point. I wouldn't have heard a damn thing. But it's a light tip, and then the foot just follows through. A great way to go through and practice this is if you have like a step or a block or something, you can actually sit on your saddle and then put your foot on, so it's all the same height. So you put all the weight here, and you just practice that clip and the unclip. Do recommend practicing it.
What's the advantage to a clipless?
The clipless. Why the advantage to it? Why are all the pros using it, right? there's, when you go through and you think of a car engine, right? And the pistons that are a car engine, if that piston were to drive down the entire time only, your car would be half as efficient. But because there's power through the downstroke and there's power through the upstroke as well, your car is more efficient, you get more horsepower out of it. Your body's the exact same way as well. So in clipless pedals, the heel, you want to try to push the heel down, and the ball of the foot will push the pedal down. When it gets to the bottom of the stroke, it pulls it back up again. So it's a push and pull, so you start getting twice the work out of one pedal stroke. To go through and do it in platforms and tennies, you're just in one direction only.
But versus a clip.
It is, it's a clip. It's called
Or
clipless pedals.
So there's nothing different than between a clipless and a traditional clip.
The traditional clip, like where you put your foot in the basket,
No.
actually,
Yeah.
it's called clipless pedals. That's what the kids are doing. Yeah, but yes, same thing. But that's actually why you want to.
It's called clipless.
Yeah, yeah. Genius of biking. Talk about falling over while you said that, right? Yeah. So that's why I go through and I sit down on my top tube and I kick that one foot out and I lean my bike slightly over, so I'm not really narrow standing on the bike to have one foot. I'm basically standing like a stork, all bunched together. So what I do is I lower my base and I bring myself down. I bring that leg up. So from here all I have to do is stand up and I push off. It's just easy to get started.
I pull the right foot out and fall to the left.
Funny story. So my wife, we get her this awesome bike, and she has the platforms, and she gets up to the bike. We buy her clipless pedals. We go to the bike and shoes. And as a trainer, it's time to go for a training session. So we go out. We spend an hour. We figure out all kinds of ways you can unclip. Emergency unclippable, double unclipping, stalling unclipping. We practice everything she does amazing with the whole thing. Then we go through and we roll home, and as she's rolling up on the sidewalk, she has to come up on the sidewalk, make a left-hand turn. She does the exact same thing. She unclips the right foot, makes a left-hand turn, and it's also this whole thing. You're going down. And she falls down, and that wasn't humiliating enough. It was the 8-year-old boy next door going, "Miss Larson, are you learning how to ride a bike?" Awesome. She's never ever forgotten that. A few things in the video that you need to take note of. One is the downshifting. This is what I see most people not doing. If you drive a stick shift car, you never start off in 5th gear, right? You downshift all the way into 1st gear, and then you go through and get yourself going. So the same thing with the bike as well. Get yourself downshifted into a nice light gear so you can stand up and you can go. Okay. The other part is to go through and take a quick check over your shoulder. And we'll talk about looking over shoulders in a minute, but you want to have that spatial awareness as to what's going on behind you. Okay. And then from there, it's the whole stopping and just sitting down that top tube and getting that nice wide base. Okay. Questions? The coolest tip ever. Yeah. Stop laying your stuff on the ground. Okay. If anything, I whip mine over and I lean it against the porta potty. I don't lay my bike on the ground because people don't watch where they're going anyway. Somebody walks over it, it just gets dirty, and then to go through, you can actually go through and lean like 5 or 6 bikes against each other, just that when it's time to go through and pull bikes, don't have one person be like, all right, now my bike, and they hang up because they'll drag into the other bikes with them, or they'll knock them over. So to go through and do this, and then make sure you're all there. The amount of times I've done this and my bike has fallen over, but when you do it, you look really proud. That's all that matters is how you look. You gotta look cool. All right, so plenty bike parking. All right, next we're going to get into, we're going to get some pretty important stuff here, guys. We're going to get into situational awareness. We're going to go through a couple of examples of being in the situation and anticipating things coming along. There's a lot of information in here as well as far as hand, arm, verbal, and all that stuff. And really what we're talking about here is we're going to go through and talk about verbal, nonverbal, and some hazards. Okay, this will be all available again here afterwards as well.
When out running with friends, it's important to maintain an elevated level of communication. This is both verbal and nonverbal, and they go hand in glove. Everything from slowing, stopping, turning, merging, and hazards such as water, holes, cracks, gravel, and other people that are sharing the road with you as well. By keeping an eye out for these things and communicating with the other riders in the pace line, you will be a safer rider on the road.
You can stop forest fires. I think we'll learn the second one. Or not. No. Perfect. So a few other hazards as well. Railroad tracks. Anybody have any unfortunate incidents on the railroad tracks? Good. These things are vicious. Take your time. You see them coming up, slow down. There's some that are awesome out there, there's some that look terrible. Some that are actually built parallel with the road. You want to cross these perpendicular and go through and take a wide line and cross them perpendicular, or get off your bike and walk across. Because to go through, you can see how my tire fits perfectly within the width of that groove. That's the railroad tie, that's the little groove. And once your tire catches in there, you're done.
You're going down.
You will be that'll be maybe your first time. I don't want it to be your first time. You come to railroad tracks, respect railroad tracks because they are always trashed, 9 times out of 10. There was one on 44 heading out to Boulder, and that I wish I would have stopped and taken a picture of, because I mean it's literally parallel to the road. It's just a slight angle that crosses the road. And the thing is vicious. So what I do is I look over my shoulder. I come really wide and then I just cross it perpendicular, just really nice and slow. Okay? All right, I'm going to go through and tell a story. All right? I'm going to tell the story through pictures. And we talked just a moment ago about verbal and nonverbal communication. So, some friends go out for a ride. We have see no evil, speaks no evil, and hears no evil, go for a bike ride. And they take their friend along with them as well. And here they are, they're rolling out, they're having a great time. But the friend doesn't see anything. The second one, even though she saw it, she doesn't talk about it. The third one, she's wearing her headphones, she didn't hear a damn thing that's going on. But the friend in the back, they're all just riding along, having a great time. And then suddenly, this is going to be that person who's in the back that didn't hear anything that's going on. She sees it coming, and she's in it. And suddenly she's like, what the hell, dude? Seriously? Come on, help a sister out. She's like, I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anybody say anything. What? Don't let this happen, and I want to make light of it and make fun of it, but it's so important that when you're riding along that you're communicating. And if you're riding a long line, it's both verbal and it's nonverbal. To say it out loud along with emotion as well, and then carry it down the line. And if it skips over one person, be responsible to go through and pick it back up. But point these things out. The amount of times I've seen just silly, dumb things happen, and people go down in large groups, and it's not fun for anyone when this happens, all through simply, the eyes are drawn to motion, right? And this comes up later on what I'm talking about right now. I call it doing mayor's work, right? Hands are drawn to motion. It's how we hunt. So am I going through and waving, and I do turn signals for traffic, and they say you can go through and do this, and this is stopping, it still is. But to go through and do a right-hand turn this way, I don't know if traffic's going to go through and see that. I know they're going to go through and see this, or if I'm doing this kind of thing. And if you notice my gloves, I wear red-fingered gloves. And usually all year long I wear long-fingered gloves as well. But I'm always pointing, and I'm pointing down at things, and I'm drawing it. If there's something over here, I'm drawing it. And if I'm passing a car, right, I'm passing, and I hear the engine running, I'll point at the car, and then I keep pointing at the car as I'm going past it for the next person to pick up where I left off. Over-exaggerate, you're not looking dumb, you're actually going through and doing a great job at everybody else's service by not allowing this to happen and having a friend of yours go down. Or this could be you. Even worse. Right? Okay, and actually doing this shot, I did knock her off her bike. I've never pictured that, she laughed.
Nothing dangerous around you. Take your hand, place it behind you on the saddle, grab a hold. This opens up the shoulder. And from here, you're able to go through and turn the head, take a complete look back, and then reverse the process. Once again, go out, practice this, and be a safe rider. I'm going to give you a quick tip to stay hydrated while riding your bike. I do it the same way every single time, and I recommend for you to go through and practice this. Step one is to go through and make sure your elbow is nice and bent and relaxed. While keeping your eyes on the road, bring one leg up into a 90-degree angle, bring the outside of your hand to the inside of your leg, and then lower your shoulders down to get access to the water bottle. It's in the same place every time. Here, grab, sit back up again, have a drink while keeping eyes on the road, and then reverse the process to get the bottle back in again. Go out, practice this, and ride safe.
Now, the reason I mentioned keep the eyes on the road is the same reason why they turn a yield sign into a stop sign, is because some idiot went through and ran that yield sign. The reason I mentioned keep your eyes on the road is because after I taught somebody this, or I told them how to go through and do this, they got their bottle out, and they were done. It was all over. So keep your eyes on the road. But to go through and practice that, okay, it really is simple. And one of the things I pointed out here is actually key in all of your bike riding, and that is to keep a slight bend in the elbow. Okay? There's a thing called the gyroscopic effect. Science. And the gyroscopic effect dictates that things that are set in motion and circuits set in motion will stay moving that same direction as well. One of the biggest reasons why people run themselves off the road is because you steered yourself off the road. The bike's doesn't want to go that way. The bike wants to go straight because you're riding straight. It's us up here trying to take control and drive the machine. You actually go through and you drive from your hips. Is how you steer. Right? So this up here is just a place to rest your hands, and what a bike fit also does for you, it places you where you can just place your hands, relax up on the front, you don't have all that weight on there. But the thing you want to, and this takes practice, this takes you coming back and saying, oh yeah, relax, relax. It's just a slight bend. And then I wiggle my fingers all the time as well. And a slight bend. Because if this is relaxed, this is going straight, and I'm just guiding it along. If I have my arms straight, and now I want to go through it, I want to grab my water bottle, I take my right hand off to go grab my water bottle, where's my bike going to go? It's going to go to the right because I'm going to push that whole handlebar over. But if my arm is nice and relaxed, and it's just guiding and just staying in place, I can lower my shoulders all the way down. I don't roll myself down to find the water bottle because it's in the same place. I just lower my shoulders down without falling over, and then bring myself back up again. And if you come down, and you want to do it at a time you can have a drink of water. If you're riding with a group of people, move out to the side a little bit, or rotate to the back. I'm going to go hydrate. Right? And if you can't get it back in the first time, have another drink. Start over. Try it again. But to go through why water bottle cages and who wears a backpack? Okay. Reason you wear a backpack is you don't want to touch your water bottles?
I can only put one water bottle on my bike because my frame is so small.
Okay, there's a thing called a sidewinder.
Yep.
And then you also get a shorty bottle.
I can only put one on there.
Still put only one on there? Okay, so to go through, you have to fill your water bottle more often. But the reason I'm not a fan of hydration packs is because most of us ride these really cool, awesome road bikes, and the position that we're in brings our body up over into an angled position, angled at the waist. And what happens is that water is weight that sits there and pushes on our shoulders, and over time your arms are going to fatigue and your shoulders get tired. Neck is going to start hurting as well, and the water itself just pushing against you, that constant force right there, it just wears you down. So to have it on the actual frame itself and be comfortable to grab it there is just much more efficient, especially when we go through and look at 150 miles. That's why I'm not a fan of hydration packs.
Water stays colder
Water stays colder where?
in the packs.
In the packs. Gotten over the cold water thing. Actually, from a cold water standpoint and energy savings, to go through and drink cold water while exercising, when it gets into your body has to use energy to heat the water back up again so it can go through and digest it. If it's just normal outdoor 150 degree temperature, your body will actually go through a process a lot faster. And I've moved. I just look.
You got used to warm water.
What's that?
You got used to warm water.
I've gotten used to warm water. Exactly. So, hydration. Why do you guys think that your bodies are in a constant state of dehydration?
You're evaporating water.
Right. Do you know why?
You're sweating.
Because you live in Colorado. And because you're sweating as well. But also because you live in Colorado. Sitting here right now, we are actually dehydrating ourselves this very minute. is because of the altitude that we're at, every time we expire, we're breathing moisture out as well, and we're kind of continuing to go through and dehydrate ourselves. So it's so important, whether it's hydration packs or water bottles, you can drink one water bottle per hour, and I recommend that you guys go out and try this. Try to go through and get that water bottle in. Now, physiologically, we're all a little bit different. I can maybe drink a little bit more water than this young lady here can, but you should still be pretty close. Maybe you should 3/4 of a bottle, right? You do or you don't?
Yes, I do.
You do? Fantastic. Who here drinks a lot of water? Give yourselves a round of applause, guys. Fantastic. Fantastic. Glad to hear it. All right, moving on. I got about maybe like 10 minutes left.
Ride your bike often enough. At some point, you're going to end up riding with traffic. When riding with traffic, it's important to be predictable, visible. If you're riding with friends, ride single file. As you come up to intersections, go through, make eye contact with the driver. One thing I like to do is I wave at everybody. It makes me look very, very polite, and eyes are also drawn to motion as well.
And I don't stop
also, when
waving.
you're coming up to an intersection, if there's a file of cars, please do not go through and file down the outside. You're going to spook and confuse drivers. Become traffic. Come in behind the car that's in the very back and take up that lane. That way, riders see that you're sharing the road and you're being a good steward.
Being good stewards, okay? Cars, they're the 800-pound gorilla on the road, and you're not going to win. It's just not going to happen. So to go through and play nice with cars is key, and to be polite and be a good bike steward and sit behind the car is nice, especially when riding with groups. You guys have probably been in the same situation yourself. You're sitting in a row of cars, and all of a sudden a whole file of bikers come by, and it kind of freaks you out a little bit, and all of a sudden they're all filed next to your car. You feel like being like swarmed by bees, right? They're all over the place. It's not nice. It's not polite. And while we're still trying to become really good stewards of the road, trying to get more people into biking, this is a polite thing to do. Go through, take up a lane. You can get like 4 or 5 bikers in here, and you can just file in behind. Let's say you're the straggler and you're the guy who's all the way off the back. It's okay for you to go through and file down some cars to go through and rejoin your group again. Another thing this does as well by lining in behind these cars is when the light turns green, you don't have this 20-foot line that is now going to try to take off, and by the time you get 3/4 of the way through, the lights turn red again, and now you got people being dangerous and running the lights. So by leaving it, by sitting in a large group, you all roll out as the same group, and then you file back out again. Okay? Pretty cool.
Keith, can I interrupt really quick? If you have a bike that you wanted to get to Bicycle Village, you're going to only be down there for a couple more minutes. So, if there was one gentleman.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
This also another thing as well, this is an intersection, cars coming up. When I was further in the intersection out here, I saw them coming, right? My situational awareness, I watch cars all the time, and I'm glad you find it humorous that I do this all the time, but I don't stop. I don't stop waving at someone until I get eye contact, until I get a wave back or something. This one time, this one lady was really awesome. She actually took her hands off the wheel. Then she was stopped. She wasn't like out of control, but she showed me that she's not going anywhere. And that's what I'm looking for. In the video clip beforehand as well, you saw as the postal van was there, I waved at the postal van, and then I started doing this, right? Because I'm pointing at something, and chances have it the person behind you maybe is 10, 15 feet behind you. I want them to see you as well. And it's a possibility that that giant bar, that perfect blind spot that sits on every driver, it's a possibility that postman saw me, didn't see them, and ends up going. So by going through and communicating and carrying it on and waving at them and then pointing at the other bike as well, carries on that communication. Okay? For this, I wave. And here we go through, and this is a fun thing as well because we rolled here, and then the sidewalk ends. So we're in a hazard. Now, good thing I'm on my cross bike, she's on a road bike. But yeah, keeps on going. Four-way stops. Four-way stops are just dangerous, and I've seen I've experienced really dangerous things, and this is a couple of them that I've seen. Is you got car A, and behind him is car B, and you roll up, and car A is like, no, you go, but they were already sitting there. So you do the polite thing, which is what I do, is I actually physically stop and I sit down on my top tube and I make them go, right? It's time for us to start communicating and follow the rules of the road that we know are correct. Or if somebody's there first, they need to go. Or else this guy's just being dangerous. But what ends up happening is I'm sitting here, I make that car go, and the person in this car is not paying attention because they're busy texting. And they see that car go, they take a quick glance, they don't see anything, and then they go as well. And by this time, I'm like halfway through the intersection. So what do you watch on cars? Anybody have an
Person
answer on that?
driving.
The driver. But let's say you can't see the driver. What do you watch in a car?
Wheels?
The wheels. The wheels will start moving before the car ever does, visually. So whenever I'm going and I'm waving at someone this whole time and I see their wheels just slowly going, I start waving even faster, right, until I see those wheels stop. Because as long as those wheels are in motion, I'm in trouble. I'm in danger of something happening. The other thing I do also when I roll to intersections here, whether it's a stop sign or not, I never sit here. I bring myself back out. I become traffic. There are points in time we have to become traffic. And the reason we become traffic is because we are a vehicle. We want to take ownership of the road. So it's okay to go through and practice that looking over the shoulder to make sure there isn't a car there, or he's back there a little bit, and then move out. You're also going to go through and look around the corner as well to see what's coming and what's going, because somebody could be speeding here or somebody could be doing something else that they don't see you. So move out and take over the lane. Four-way stops, frightening. Frightening. Do I ever not come to a complete stop in a four-way stop and I just roll on through? Yes. Am I being dangerous? Yes. Am I in danger of my life? Probably. I'd say yes. So come to stops. Practice the stall. I still can't.
As riding is a very social event, it's still very important to maintain safe following distance. Up to a bike's length distance from another rider, you can actually still benefit from the draft.
Fascinating.
As you get closer to riders, make sure that you're not overlapping wheels.
Don't do
riding
this.
directly behind
Don't
the
ever
other
do this.
wheel. What you want to look for is slightly off to the side, so you can go through and see up the road what the other rider is seeing as well.
Slight stagger?
Oftentimes, if things have to slow down quickly, where you're positioned behind the other bike makes all the difference between being safe or running into the other rider. So practice this when riding out with friends. Biking is about being proactive. So if you're coming into a climb situation, what you want to do is you want to downshift into lighter gear and ease your way into that climb. You don't want to go through and attack the bottom of the hill because you're going to end up being redlined and burned out by the time you get to the top. After that, reversing the process, coming down the hill, I highly recommend to always go through and cover your brakes. Because it's nice and easy to maintain the speed you want to stay at. And then also if you're coming into a turning and quartering situation, give yourself enough space in the road to where you can actually see through the corner itself. And then nice and easy, keep looking
Watch
to
the
the corner
background.
and take your body through it.
Watch the background.
It's a series of turns. You can notice you turn your head one way and then to the other way.
Turn.
Go out and practice this and be safe.
There's a thing my wrestling coach taught me in high school. And he taught me, he's like, Keith, wherever the head goes, the body will follow. So if you want to go through and you want to have that person turn them onto their right shoulder, you just wrench their head over, and I promise you the body will go through and follow. Well, that's pretty aggressive, and we're just riding a bike, but it's the same thing as well, right? If you look at something, you're going to run into it, right? Who here is like scared the living hell out of themselves going between like two pylons that are like this high off the ground? Because you're coming up on, you're just staring at both, you're like, oh. It's the same thing. You want to look down the road. There's one thing I talk about, and it's don't watch the front wheel. Okay? I see so many riders that are just here, and there's nothing to take in. There's no information here, and everything is a surprise. You always want to be looking down the road or looking up the road to take in information, to see potential hazards that could be coming up. And when you're coming up onto corners, you want to be able to go through and take a look around that corner, see as much as you possibly can. Input. Must have input and constantly getting information. I will put myself on the road wherever I need to be to get as much information as I possibly can, and also to make sure that I'm as visible as I possibly can be. Climbing, it really is an art, guys. To get good at climbing, climb more. Okay. A good thing to practice on climbing as well is standing up. The tip for standing up and climbing is to try to stand up without accelerating. Okay. So I'm going to leave it at that. Downhill, stay within your ability and stay relaxed. Don't get that death grip on the handlebars, because something happens, you're going to grab those brakes and you're going to endo. And an endo is where you wrench on that front brake to where the back wheel comes over and you're just like body's out, shoom, you're down. Right? And I've done it. Didn't want them. These two kids they were messing around up here and I saw it coming, so they push out into the bike path and I just hit my front brake. And next thing I know, I'm ass over tea kettle and farther, like, hey man, what happened? I sang a song, Be Patient.
I tell myself, don't panic.
Don't panic,
Don't
yeah.
panic. I mean, seriously, because that'll get you in endo or in trouble.
Yeah.
I constantly tell myself, don't panic.
Yeah. There's another thing as well that I'm always looking for, and I'm always looking for the big sofa. Right? And the big sofa is the soft, open, flat area. I'm always constantly looking for an out. Just in case if that car door opens, where can I go? And I like to take checks on my shoulders, and the check you can do here to see if there's anything right there as well. But I'm always, especially when in traffic and on the bike path on the weekends, guys, is one of the most dangerous places you can go and ride your bike. Especially if you want to go ride your bike. Now, if you want to cruise and check things out and slow down and sit in traffic like you're on I-25 coming through this right-hand turn, then go on the bike path. But apart from that, there's great places to go. 32nd, 27th, 44th will take you out to Golden. There's a really cool ride if you go through and you hit Dulles, you can hit actually all the way out to the airport. I mean, there's just tons of places to get off the bike path. Sometimes I use the bike path to make one jump, to make a junction to get off the bike path. But on the weekends, anything after 8 o'clock, never. I avoid the place like the plague. But, so we go for a bike ride. All right, our ride is over and we had an amazing time and our butts are sore and our energy tanks are slightly depleted. And the first thing you want to do is when you get off your bike is you want to have Recoverite. Right? You want to have a shot of this or any kind of recovery drink, chocolate milk, I don't care what your recovery drink is, have something. Within the first 20 minutes, your bodies are so ready to take anything in. You put a burger in there, and it's going to process the burger. It needs fuel. So whatever you put in your system for the first 20 minutes is key. I use Recoverite, and I love this stuff. I get done with it, I'm like, man, I can ride my bike again. But after about 20 minutes worth of, well, actually, let me not go to there. After I have my Recoverite, it's time to go through and celebrate, and let's drink some beer, people. There's a natural relationship and a pairing between biking and beer. German scientists. German scientists have proven that a beer after strenuous endurance exercise is actually beneficial to the body. The reason why?
Carbs.
Carbohydrates. Exactly. Your body needs this kind of stuff, so go and have a beer and celebrate the fact that you guys have gone out and done an amazing thing. And I recommend doing this at the end of every really long ride. I do. Must mean it's good. But it's a beer. Okay? German scientists, they're still working on the second beer. Trying to I think they have the second one, just go straight to the third. But after that, it's really important to go through and eat a really good meal. What we see here is delicious. We've got tuna, high in protein, maybe a little mercury. But we've also got some great fresh vegetables. I see some avocado and some tomatoes and some roughage in there, and that might even be a potato or something. But eat a good meal. Eat more than 250 calories, because chances have it after 75 miles of riding, you burn a hell of a lot more. And after a couple hours more, go eat again. Right? And if you get peckish before you go to bed, go eat again. Although my doctor has now started recommending, I'm listening to him, is to finish eating about an hour to 2 hours before I go to bed, because I start to get, as I've gotten older, I'm starting to get like abdominal reflux from the whole thing. I get acid digestion, I wake up in the middle of the night. It's mainly when I eat burgers and pizza. But go through and have a good meal. You want to make sure you've got plenty of that in there, which I'm going to say is avocado. Okay? Avocado is fantastic fat. You want to have protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Fat is not a bad word. Okay? And then after that, seriously, you will sleep like this. This is how you will feel. Go out and do it. Because as I mentioned earlier, right, it's only when you're sleeping that your body's going through and healing itself and getting itself stronger. So when you're going out and you're doing your training, and on these weekends leading up to this ride, I recommend doing a good ride on Saturday and go out and do another good ride on Sunday as well. And if you're really wrapped around the action, get up early, go for a bike ride, go home, follow this recommendation, take that nap, hang out, eat some more, and then at 6 o'clock go out for another bike ride. Just me? And eat cookies during your bike ride. But when you're sleeping is when you're healing, and to go through and make sure you drink plenty of water after your ride as well. I didn't have a slide up for that. But what you do and what you put into your body is going to translate into how well you do again the next day. Okay? So with that, last thing we go through leading with, choose passion, choose primal. Thank you so much for your time, everybody.
Question.
Yeah, please.
Training. We're getting ready for a 75-mile ride, and about 60 is the longest ride I've done. Mm-hmm. Is there a good regimen that you should do, like 1-2 hours and skip a day, or and then a long one on the weekend, or what's your training regimen for a week?
For a week long of training,
Yeah.
Especially for what you're doing, which is really just the endurance side of things. I'll go through and I'll build throughout the course of my week. So when I first go through and get started after a couple of days of rest, I'm not as strong as I am on like day 3 and 4. So on day 1, let's say it takes you 5 hours to go through and do 75 miles, right?
Okay.
So on day 1, I'll go out and I'll do like a 2.5 hour pedal. On day 3, I'll go back out, or sorry, on day 2, day 1 of riding, I'll go out and I'll do like a 2.5 hour bike ride. But if my body says no, listen to your body and take a break. But go out, have a nice easy pedal. Day 3, I'll go out and I'll go through and I'll bump it up by about a half hour, right? And what I'll throw in there as well is I'll throw in a couple periods of doing hard work and doing easy work. And what that means is I'll spend maybe like 10 minutes going maybe 5 miles an hour faster, and then I drop back into a state where I'm comfortable at. And what you're doing by this is you're teaching your body to be able to handle and process more lactic acid. You're also making your heart stronger as well, which is what intervals are for. And then on day 4 to go through and give it a good push and try to go for that 5 hour mark that you need to get in. Don't worry about the miles, guys. Don't worry about butt and saddle, right? So don't worry about the distance goes. So put your 5 hours in, and then on your 6th day, go back and do your 2 hours. Rinse, repeat. Right? Take a day or 2 off, go back, start again.
And I'll also add that because of the rest stops, some people say this is like doing 15 10-mile rides over the course of 2 days. Because if you have to get off the bike, you can get off the bike at a rest stop, or if you're feeling good, you can just go through. But some people like to break it up that way. To do a longer ride on your own as you're training that's unsupported is harder than to do this ride because you have people, you have rest stops, you have support. So it's very different. It'll be a lot easier than I think you'll expect.
The other thing I was going to say about it as well, if the best you've ever done is 60 miles, you can do 75 miles.
Yep.
Oh, I know I can do it. It's just a matter of building up. I haven't ridden all winter, so I've been doing that, but I've been doing like daily 1 hour, 1.5 hour rides.
Time to bump it up. Especially now we're, what are you doing? Huh? 3 weeks from go time. It's time to ramp up, and then about that 5 days beforehand, you want to taper things back down again, so your body's nice and rested to get into the ride.
So if I'm in the mountains a week before for a weekend, do a couple of nice, really long rides that week before, and then taper off
throughout the course of that week. Give yourself. So the ride's on Saturday. I'd go through and take like a Wednesday, Thursday off, and ride your bike Thursday and Friday, and then day 3 really is that Saturday that we were talking about, right? And then that Saturday, Sunday are your 2 really big days. On the Monday, go ride your bike for like an hour, just to go through and spin things out. You may be exhausted and it's not anything amazing, it may even suck, but just to go through and just to pedal it out a little bit. I always go through and recommend that. Christiana?
That was going to be my question. The week of, like, we're doing like 80 to 100 miles a week now on average.
Awesome.
But like the week of, should we not be doing our normal? Like, should we?
The work's already been done, right? And the rest and the food and the fueling, all that has made you stronger, and your muscles stronger, and your cardiovascular system stronger. That week of, that Monday, starting on that Monday, let's say, you're not going to do anything beneficial to make yourself faster, stronger, or anything like that. And actually, if you go through and push yourself, you're going to make yourself weaker. Because when we're riding our bike, we're actually getting weaker. It's when we go through and sleep and take time off the saddle as well, that the body gets to go through and heal, that it's the whole live to fight another day thing. You actually go through and make yourself a lot stronger. So the week of, let's talk about that Monday. So you've ridden hard the entire weekend. Monday, go out and go for a really nice pedal, go for an hour, hour and a half. Tuesday, go through and do the same thing as well. Take Wednesday or Thursday off, or Tuesday and Wednesday off, or just take Wednesday off, it's up to you. And then Thursday, have just a nice ride for an hour, hour and a half, easy pedal, smell the roses, be a sightseer. Friday, go through and do the same thing. Saturday, and go to bed really nice and early and fuel and eat and rest. Saturday morning, wake up, have a great breakfast, and you are so set to go. You guys have 3 weeks to bring yourself into a routine by rolling out Saturday morning at a certain time and rolling out Sunday morning at a certain time, where the day of the ride comes, it's just another bike ride, guys.
A really fun one.
It's the most amazing supported bike ride out there. I'm a wrapper on the Axle Racer. For the last 2 years, I've gone out and done this ride, which always falls on a big race weekend. And I'm so much happier doing this ride than I am going out and doing my Hammerfest type of stuff. It's awesome. And it's a great time. There's a lot of socializing, and you guys are going to have a fantastic time. I look forward to seeing you out there as well. Come by, stop by, say hi. I'll be hanging out at the Primal tent the entire weekend. Wrapping things up here. If you guys have any further questions, I'll be outside, and I'm happy to chat with you some more. Very cool. Take it back to Kaylin.
I want to say thank you to Keith
Thank you,
and
Keith.
Primal for doing such an awesome job. We contacted him like 2 weeks ago to say, hey, can you do this? I'm about to send out an e-bike. We want people to come. And they did all those videos and this whole thing last week. In 1 week, they put all that together. They're just rock stars, so we thank them for that. Make sure to grab some socks if you didn't get them on the way out. They apparently make you faster. Get some questions. I want to say thanks to Bicycle Village. They're not up here, but of course they were here to support us. And out on the table, they weren't there when you came in, but we have 50% off for any bike service at any of the Bicycle Village locations, so grab one. They're happy to help with that. This is our merchandise jersey for this year. You can buy this at the ride if you like. I think it's pretty awesome with our state flag on it. And let's see here. Oh, don't forget to grab your rider handbook if you don't already have one. Your fundraising guide if you don't already have one. Also out there we've printed, since we've been in here for you, those donor receipts that you can write in if it was a donation less than $250. There's also the donation tracking forms for you. And my last plug of the evening is for volunteers. There's one of these out on the table as well. We always need volunteers. There's over 700 of them bike weekend. So if you have friends or family and they can spare a couple hours and do something for us, either at Front Range Community College, along the course, or CSU, we'd appreciate it. We still need those route marshals to help you guys along your way. And we also need people on the luggage crew to get your luggage off of the truck at CSU and into the lawn so you can then pick it up and go to your hotel. So if you know of people, grab one of these, please, and have them reach out to us. And thank you for coming. I'm sorry we went over, but I think it was worth it, and I hope you learned why. Thanks, guys.